Hey guys, um, in this video, I want to talk about my backstory and who I was as like a teenager. It almost seems like all the big like tech or internet entrepreneurs have like this incredible backstory of being like star students and being like, you know, more than average. In my youth, I was more than average, and then in my teenage years, I was like less than average. Um, in pretty much what happened was sixth grade, fifth grade, cool, sixth grade, cool. In the seventh grade, I had a thought, and it was just a thought. It just came right into my mind. I don't know how to explain it. That I figured, I thought about like doctors and how doctors are usually like very tired. And I thought, like, I need to do whatever the fuck it takes to succeed in my business career. So I mentally checked out of school and I became like a class clown. And the next year in the eighth grade, I started smoking weed and cigarettes. So, yeah, and then because of the weed and the ecstasy and the shrooms and the all the other stuff that I was doing, Xanax and Adderall and Seroquel and you know all the all that stuff that I was doing. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia at the age of 17. And the schizophrenia medication, actually, at first I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And then at the age of in like 18 or 19, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. And then at the age of 19, I dropped out of college to work on my business, which was my lifelong goal. So, star student, mentally checked out of school to become a class clown purposefully. I didn't really want to become a class clown, but I just wanted to mentally like not exert myself too much because I wanted to save that energy for my career. And at 19, I started full time working on my business. So, ever since the age of 3 years old, I've always been about my money, been geared toward the money. Anytime that little question would pop into my head of, like, what do you want to do? Is like, I want to make money. And I would always tell my parents, like, I can't wait to become an adult so that I could make money. And really, it was like this grand delusion that I thought making money would solve all my problems. Uh, I have a prediction that in the future money will solve all my problems, but keep in mind I'm only 30, guys. So I still got a long way to go. You know, most rich people around the internet made their first millions like in their 20s. I guess you could say I did make my first millions in my 20s, but really, I didn't really like begin to break the mold until I turned 30. And I think it's because back in the day of like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all these guys that we know and love around social media, they didn't have the internet to inspire them, and they didn't have like a library of content to study. It was just like them and their business. And I also think that nowadays people overcomplicate business, that it really does just need to be you and your business and your marketing, you know, getting your product developed, and then getting your product in front of as many people as possible to sell your product to as many people as possible. That's like all you really need to do. And if you find out if your product is a hit or a miss within like 6 months, you know. So my YouTube channel didn't really start to take off until I started posting multiple pieces of content every day. That's like what really busted the algorithm to get me to start taking off on YouTube, was when I started posting multiple pieces of content every day. Posting like 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of content on a daily basis. That's how I started gaining subscribers, to now I have like 83 subscribers. And thank you guys for being here, by the way. You guys don't know how much you guys mean to me. I spent a lot of lean years on YouTube, around the range of like 10, 20 subscribers. I had no idea that one day it would happen. Like it would actually happen. Like I would start to take off with my subscribers. And I know from watching other YouTubers that I have a lot of haters out there that will turn into fans eventually. But that's who I was as a kid, business minded. At the age of 12 years old, side note, my stepdad, my biological father was not very much in my life. So I basically had a stepdad. So pretty much he had just bought his first house. So when I was probably 11 years old, or maybe 12 years old, I had asked him for money for the last time. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That one day that I asked him for money, I did not ask him for money very often, but it was like it was like a series of like a week of like I asked him for like 3 times for money in like a week, which I did not want to make a habit out of, right? And he told me that if I wanted to make my own money, then I had to go make money, you know. So I didn't need much, you know. But when I started smoking weed, I started selling weed to support my habit. So that's where a lot of people get me wrong. A lot of people think I was selling dope to make money. I was selling dope to support my own habit. And we were just selling, me and my little group of friends, we were just selling to other people in our friend, basically our friend network, who also smoked weed that needed a supply for the day. You know, so pretty much my strategy for making it through those years was I didn't eat too much. That's how when I got older I started to get a little bit husky, you know, started to get a little bit of the fatness going on, you know, because when I was a teenager I didn't really eat that much, you know. And yeah, so lived on like, you know, I would in the morning. I'm not saying I come from like a bad family, because I don't. You know, my family cared for me a lot, and every day I would wake up. I had my own room in my stepdad's house, and he had two kids with my mom, and they were in a room together. And I would wake up in the morning, you know, my music would be blaring, you know, or my alarm clock would go off and my music would be blaring for sometimes like a half hour, you know. And you know, $2 would be on the kitchen counter. You know, on the way out the door, there would be $2 on the kitchen counter for me to get my lunch. But $2 wasn't enough for me to get a school lunch. So basically, I would get like a plate of nachos and like something to drink, you know. And sometimes like a bag of Doritos and like a Yoo-Hoo, or like a Hawaiian punch, like something to drink and something to eat for like $1 each, you know. And a school lunch at the time I think was $2.50, and I would get $2 every day. And it sounds like shitty, but that was like a pivotal part of my life, where that's a part of my story now. You know, is like that's where I come from, and I never want to lack for anything ever again. You know, that's like a part of my story. You know, is like I come from a background of lack and not having enough, and I really just want to try my damn best to find myself in a position where that never happens again. Where, let's say, if I'm at the fucking grocery store, and if there's like, you know, a nice like steak that I want to buy, that's like, you know, $12 or $16, I could just buy it. You know, I don't have to buy like a pack of hot dogs for like $1. I could get like the steak. I could get like, you know, I could go with like the organic, like eggs, you know, grass fed beef, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, and then in high school, I started to get free lunch. Number one is I started stealing shit. You know, I started stealing out of like the what's it called, the pharmacy store. Like, I don't want to say what the name of the store was, but it's a pretty big like corporate store. It was like right up the road from where I lived, and I would go in there like anytime I went past that store, I would go in there and like steal something that I wanted, you know. But like Rich Piana said, no matter how much I stole, as I got older, you know, no matter how much I took, I never would get ahead. You know, I learned the value of working for what you get. And in my adulthood, I learned more and more that you truly do get what you pay for. You know, like everyone pretty much drives like a Honda or a Toyota. I really think that expensive cars are expensive not just because of the physical value of the car, you know, but for the spiritual value of the car. You know, I do deploy a lot of spiritual principles into my work, you know. And what else do I have to say about who I was when I was a kid? I used to like to fight a lot. I got in like 4 fights. Well, that's not a lot, but it's like a lot compared to most kids I think just like to keep to themselves. And then it was me like fighting everybody. And I got in like 4 fights, and then I got in like 4 or 5 fights as an adult as well. I don't take shit from anybody, you know. In my mind, you know, I've had a harder life than most people, and I don't take shit from anybody. In my mind and what I do, no one should have the nerve to fuck with me or do me wrong when I'm a good person. And no one is gonna disrespect me. No one is gonna do me wrong. No one is gonna get me wrong. Not on social media, not in real life, not nowhere. That's why if someone comments on my video with some hating ass bullshit, I'll comment back and be like, shut the fuck up. You know, go somewhere with that bullshit. Get the fuck off my page. You know. And gets me in trouble sometimes. But out of 8 fights, not maybe 9 fights I've been in my life, I won 7 fights. So, you know, I guess I don't really lose. Yeah, and the one fight I did lose, he basically sucker punched me. So, And yeah, so pretty much I was a good kid, you know, but in high school it kind of looked like I was headed for nowhereville, you know, but it was all for a good purpose. You know, it was all for a good purpose. And I'm in my career now. I'm 30 years old. I've been doing this for damn near 11 years. In 5 months, 4.5 months, it'll be 11 years that I've been doing this full time. And 10 years of nonstop. And I mean it when I say 10 years. Since the age of 19 this year. At 29 years old in March. My anniversary for starting my business is March 15th. So this year was 10 years of logging in work every single day on my business from day one. And even since then, I have not taken my mind off of it. I don't think I will take my mind off of it for the rest of my life. Anything could happen, you know. I always make commitments and don't follow through, you know. If life were a test of your will, I guess I'm a flop, but in the eyes of God, I know I am pure and awesome. So, and I plan on devoting the greater part of my life to becoming a savage and making money, to bring honor to my family, to provide for my future generations, and to create something that lasts forever.